Soundstrap.
Trying to get a lot of dough. Anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone.
Soundstrap.
Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of gold. Stack that bread and vomit nose. Anything is possible.
Welcome back to the XandO Sports Show. I'm your host, Ricky G. Stanley. The sports world has been going nuts this week. I mean nuts. Like with all this news, we're gonna break down the NFL and what's been going on. And I know sports teams has been going through it. My good friend Donovan Davis, he's a Seattle fan. He's been going through it, but we're not gonna start off with them yet. Let's start off with the Aaron Rodgers news. Elected to stay in Green Bay. Go Pack, go. I love the idea of finishing his career with Green Bay. He's going to be there for 20 plus years. You do not see that anymore at all in organizations. That's why so many of these teams, after one or maybe 2 bad years, they're ready to pull a guy and get rid of him. I feel like that's stupid. No more loyalty. And that's why some of these teams go 10 years without winning a playoff game. But I digress. I got a Super Bowl in 2017, so I can say that. Aaron just signed a 4-year, $135 million deal just a couple seasons ago. But they also drafted his replacement already, Jordan Love, which I was on the record and said, hey, this dude sucks. He's not going to replace Aaron Rodgers. It was a waste of a pick. They should have got him a wide receiver, a good tight end, or another offensive lineman. But they didn't. So what did he do? He kept his mouth shut. He took care of business. He won 2 MVPs. Who in their right mind is going to release a 2-time MVP and he was playing well? Didn't play well in the playoffs, but, that's another day. So he signed that 4-year, $135 million deal. After 2 seasons of that, so he's been in his 3rd year, they re-up and give him a 4-year, $200 million deal, $153 million guaranteed. Show me the money, Aaron Rodgers. Show me the money. If I need a loan this year, I know who to come to. Make sure you pick up my call, Aaron. I said, now his great grandkids are rich. So they say, if you break down, it's a contract-friendly deal somehow. I mean, I have to go look at it. I looked at it, but $200 million over 4 years is still a lot of money. They also, signed back. They franchise tag his number 1 receiver, so they're going to try to run it back next year. I really feel like this year in the draft, if you stop being done with the ideology and just get him another receiver. I mean, Adams is great. He can play well, but if he ever get double, no one else outside of the running back is actually catching passes. I mean, they got guys that they're running wide open, but they're just not good enough, in my personal opinion. No offense to them. But I'm glad he signed that contract, because now by him signing that contract, it leads things out for other quarterbacks. He just had a quarterback to change the market. So when quarterbacks sign deals like this and you sign your quarterback, you either have to match that if he's good enough, or you have to give him a little more. And there's a quarterback that's asked for an unlawful amount of money, which is Khalil Mack for Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals have not been good since Kurt Warner. They have a lot of guys like the Drew Stanfords of the world to come in, just hand the ball off, play action, and they still, they play good defense to get into the playoffs. So with Khalil Mack, Aaron Rodgers just moved the market up for Khalil Mack, and he has a chance to get more guaranteed money. He may not get the money he wants, but they will at least try to get him more guaranteed money to make him the highest paid quarterback for at least 30 minutes until somebody else signs. So, however, I think someone will be odd man out, which is Lamar Jackson. He will be the odd man out playing on his last year's contract. Most of the time, if teams want to sign you and they want to keep you around for the long haul, most of the time they take care of you early. I feel like Lamar Jackson's getting the short end of the stick by the way they play him. Like Pro Football Focus doesn't have him listed in the top 10 quarterbacks sometime, because of the scheme they run. But he's an athlete. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. He's still in the growing process, but he's on his last year of his contract. They did the same thing to Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. So I'm a little worried, but if he plays well and uninjured, they're going to have to either franchise tag him, which is give him more guaranteed money for 1 year, or they got to give him a long-term deal. But the thing is, if he walks, they're going back to the Stone Ages, because nobody's going to be able to run that BS offense like he does. So I think Lamar Jackson's going to roll the dice. I think he needs to hire an agent too. No offense to his mom. But trying to work a $200 million deal. I mean, it's going to be a tall task for her. She could do it, though. Move on to some more news. Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. At first, I'm not going to lie, I'm looking like, WTF, what is going on? Like, how could this happen? This man gave you 10 years, and for those 10 years, he never lost enough to not make the playoffs. The 1 year he don't make the playoffs, y'all trade him. But he did waive his no trade clause. And I was baffled. I was like, yo, this is stupid. Like, how you gonna get rid of, if you're gonna rebuild a team, you don't get rid of him, you get rid of everybody else to build pieces around him, because he's still young enough that he can do it. But I listened to an interview, and Greg Olsen, shout out to the U. He played there. He was in that locker room, and he was like, we never had a personnel problem. It's more of an ideology. And the Seattle Seahawks were still stuck in 2013. When they played well, they played hard-nosed defense. They worked on the kicking game, they ran the ball and played conservative. They let Russell do his thing once they get behind by 21 points or when they need a 2-minute drill. But, like, they never, how my man Donovan Davis said, they didn't let him cook. And it was just like, the guy's good enough. Just cut him loose. Let him do his thing. And it was times that, a couple years ago, Russell Wilson was almost the MVP until, like, they had that skid and barely made the playoffs. But I'm just trying to figure out, like, why? Like, this guy gave you 10 years. Okay, he's asking for more help because you gave him a tight end for a tackle. Like, everybody knows that a lot of tight ends don't like to block. And you moved a guy, made him gain weight and put him at tackle. Like, now you're putting pieces together and he has to do more than what he should. So, he's with the Broncos now. And like I said, Seattle will play defense and play conservative. But with that ideology, you can't let that guy make $140 million, not let him cook. So like I said, I as I looked at it, he needs to be surrounded by an offensive-minded OC and a solid defense. So we know that the defense for the Broncos is not bad. They played pretty solid last year, especially after they got rid of Von Miller. Like I said, they're pretty solid. Unfortunately, he was traded to one of the hardest divisions in the AFC. So not only is he in the AFC with more quarterbacks, he's in there with Patrick Mahomes, the Chargers, and the Raiders are nothing to sneeze at. So he could very well miss the playoffs, even if he goes 9-7 or 9-8, however that goes. Like I said, he will, have to go through Chiefs, Chargers. That's going to be tough because I think the Chargers are on their way. As free agency starts to go on, I think it will work in his favor. I hope that the Broncos take heed and sign Tyler Lockett. I feel like that would be a good addition. He got some young receivers, but that'll be a guy that he could put in the slot he could definitely rely on, because I still do not believe in Jerry Jeudy yet. Speaking of being traded, Carson Wentz. Boy, I tell you, boy, I was glad to get him out of Philadelphia. Boy, he catching it right now, boy. Bless his heart. Like, they sent him packing to the Commanders. First of all, like, I had to write down the word Commanders because I still want to call them the Washington football team or the Redskins. It's been ingrained in me for over 20-some years, so forgive me if I forget to say the Commanders. But the Colts really wanted to move off of him. And this is the thing, is like, I hate to say it, but it's looking like it's coming to an end for Carson Wentz. I hate to call it early because when he played for the Eagles, everybody is still trying to get that one good year out of him when he almost won the MVP before he tore his ACL. But the thing is, he was a product of Frank Wright. So once Frank Wright left, he was mediocre at best. We made it to the playoffs 1 year finally with him because he got hurt the year of the Super Bowl and he got hurt the year after, and Nick Foles had to put us in the playoffs again. After Nick left, he got us in the playoffs, but the first hard hit he took, he was out. Then the next year, I think we didn't make the playoffs, and then they fired the coach, and then they got rid of him because he didn't want to be there anymore. He wanted to go play with Frank Wright again. He gets his choice. He goes to the Colts. Shout out to the Colts for giving us a conditional pick because he played more than 70% of his snaps. So we got an additional first-round pick out of the Colts. So his stats win is this: 3,563 yards with 27 touchdowns. He had the best, in my opinion, outside the Titans, the best running game. Once Henry went down, he had the best running back. He had good tight ends. T.Y. Hilton was banged up. I know the team was banged up, but even with a mediocre season, this is what the season came down to. He had to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars to get into the playoffs. Playoffs? We're not talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars with Jalen Ramsey and those guys a couple years ago. We're talking about a team that can barely put up 4 wins, and you lose to them to close out your season. That broke the camel's back. There's no way I'm paying a guy $40 million and he can't beat a 3 or 4 win team. I don't care how bad my defense is playing. I'm paying you that type of money. I need you to put the team in your back. You can't have a bad game against those guys. They weren't good enough. So the fact that Carson Wentz is out, he's with the Commanders, and now he's back in the NFC East, which I have no fear because, like I said, I didn't think he was that good anyway. Like I said, all those years I watched him closely. He was a product of Frank Reich, and we stopped running those Frank Reich plays, and he didn't look like the same quarterback, injury or not. Like I said, so when he signed with Philly, that big contract, and we got rid of that contract, we sent him there. I was like, whew, thank goodness. But I think, to be honest, I feel bad for him because he put some roots down finally in the Colts. And I was like, well, if he had a bad year, okay, at least give him one more year to get back, acquainted with Frank Reich. Nope, they cut him already. I mean, they traded him already. So I think he's going to be a stopgap for the Redskins if they don't draft a quarterback this year. So more news in the free agency. Another heartwarming one is Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner, the 10-year veteran from Seattle. He was drafted the same year as Russell Wilson. He was released by Seattle. They're doing a full reboot. And I felt like if you didn't keep Russell, you should at least re-up the contract for Bobby and got that defense back where it was with Bobby Wagner. They did not. And I'm kind of glad they did grant him his release because he can go somewhere to be a contender. This dude is one of those, look at my face. A gritty, hard-nosed middle linebacker. He's not one of those guys that try to just play pretty and just get picks all the time. Like, he is sticking his nose in there. I remember that year when it was Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers, and they both were good. And we're talking about that defense of Seattle was stopping 3rd and 1. It's like, it's not often you're going to stop somebody for 3rd and 1 or 4th and inches. He is just in there just moving people. And I like Bobby Wagner the way he plays. It was several seasons. He had 8-time All-Pros. He led the NFL in tackles several years. He even had a hamstring problem one year. And he still went out there and gutted it out. With no Richard Sherman, no Earl Thomas, no Cam Chancellor anymore, no Irvin, no what's the guy name? It's not I can't think of his name. But he had so many guys around him. But once they left, he still played at a high level. Outside of Luke Kuechly and Patrick Willis, when they were in the league, he was one of the bright spots in that position. Because after Ray Lewis pretty much left, those guys ran that position for a long time. I'm sure he'll be signed to a contender. The guy can still play. He's 31 years old, and I know they're blowing his phone up. Bobby Wagner, take your time. If you're watching this, take your time, make your selection, and go to somewhere. Philadelphia could definitely use you. You're a cornerstone piece away. We can get we can change our scheme back up. Get Fletcher Cox doing what he does best. You come on, put on that Eagles green. But to be honest, the Chargers could really use his ability and leadership in LA, which is a good segue. Khalil Mack was traded to the LA Chargers yesterday, and I was blown away. I was so excited because Joey Bosa is a pretty good defensive end. But now he got Khalil Mack on the other side. He is going to cook. There's no way that you're going to block both of them. If you get both of those guys down and Bobby Wagner in the middle tying that stuff up, and you got Asante Samuel's son back there, and then you got the kid from Florida State playing free safety back there. That's going to be tough for Patrick Mahomes, the Raiders, and now Russell Wilson to play against. That's going to be tough. Like I said, the Chargers had to give up a 2nd round and a 6th round to get him. The defensive line just got that much better. I like that. Mack will be playing under his old coach, Brandon, Stuckley? And like I said, he used to be his linebackers coach. He has a very good familiarity with him. And he would feel at home with that guy at the helm, calling plays for him. They're doing those stunts. And they had a problem stopping the run. So Khalil Mack has no problem sticking his nose in there. And then on 3rd down, let him go get it. I know he was a little banged up with the foot injury last year. He's proved that he can play. He's a beast. Bring him on slowly, make sure that foot is fully healed up, and let him go. But, the free agency is still going. Over time, we will see, how the things shape up into the draft. I got to go back and watch the combine, get you guys a couple of videos on that. But as for a time, this is mine. I'm your host, Ricky G. Stanley.
Soundstripe.
Out of here.
Trying to get a lot of dough. Anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone.
Soundstripe.
Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of goals. Stack that bread and by my nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. Trying to get a lot of